All right, so we have Nick Starr here for a re-record deck tech because the previous deck tech that he did last month did not have any audio, so we're fixing that now. All right, so Nick, explain this deck to me. This is something that I saw a lot in the early days of Modern, but not a lot these days. So why do you play it?
This deck is real old school. I'm real big in on Geist of St. Traft. It's been my pet deck for years. Since they banned Birthing Pod on me, I was real sad about that. But I feel the deck is really well positioned right now. You're playing against Death Shadow a lot, and Grixis being the best one doesn't have a lot of the blockers that they need to beat me. Like, if you're not playing Lingering Souls, I can just about steamroll right through most things. But Lingering Souls is a real pain in the neck for this deck to beat. But with Grixis Death Shadow doing so much damage to themselves, yes, they have counter spells, but for the most part, you need like one good hit with the Angel off the Geist of St. Traft, and you're golden, and you can burn them out.
Yeah, realistically, one of the only counter spells they play main board these days is just Stubborn. And Stubborn really doesn't interact with Geist very well.
No, not really. I mean, they can stop my Bolt, they can stop my Helix, but then I'm getting just as much value as they are out of it because they're paying 1 mana to stop my 1 mana or 2 mana spells. It's not like if you were trying to play something like Gifts Ungiven where you're going all in on your one turn and they're just like, no. Yeah. But, I mean, between Resto Angel, Snapcaster Mage, and Click, it's just about got all the beats you need because they can't really deal with flyers too well. So you just soar right over them and you're usually pretty fine. Other than that, I've got some spicy one-ofs in the deck. Like I play a one-of Logic Knot. That card is disgustingly good. It's 2 mana, basically counter anything late game.
It's become a real powerhouse over the last few months. Ever since Death Shadow came to predominance, the blue-white decks and the blue-white-red decks have really started playing Logic Knot as a very efficient answer.
It's really good. I don't understand the Japanese one that Grand Prix that ran 4 of them in his main board.
Yeah, pretty wild.
That's a little much. But I've got one Cryptic Command. This one, unfortunately, comes out a lot if you're going up against like a really aggressive deck because it's just too slow. Yeah. And I only have 1 Electrolyze because you don't see Affinity that much. It's really good against a lot of like the X1 decks that you run into, but without Affinity being a mainstay in the format right now, it's just slow.
Yeah, I remember the days of Electrolyze being just so powerful. Yeah, 4 so powerful, beats up on everything. And then Twin died.
And then Twin left. Yeah. But I mean, I still run a couple spell snares because that's really good still. Remand is good for the Delve creatures, if you can catch them on that. I run 2 Mana Leaks because it's just, in the early game, it's really good. But other than that, I'm only running 3 Serum Visions because I don't feel 4 is where you want to be right now. You don't want, especially if you're on the draw, turn 1 Serum Visions is not where you want to be sitting right now. Like, against Death Shadow, you can do it. Yeah. But if you're up against Collected Company or anything like that, you have to kill their mana dorks. You cannot let them just get going.
Yeah.
But other than that, the deck has been really good. The mana base has worked out real well. I finally have the whole deck foiled, so you can tell I've been playing this deck for a while. But if we go to the board,
all right, what do we got here? Seems a lot of this seems pretty atypical of the blue or red decks.
Yeah.
With some different cards.
Yeah, it's pretty atypical for blue, white, red. You got your 2 Dispels, Crumble to Dust, Blessed Alliance. I used to run Rest in Peace, but it was just too detrimental to myself because a lot of the decks you'd want to bring it in against Dredge, it just hoses. So, I mean, it was a real good matchup for that. But Anger of the Gods has just been better against Collected Company because that deck, this one just can't beat.
Yeah.
Like, I maybe go 1 for 10 against a good Collected Company opponent, and then even then I'm getting lucky. So Anger of the Gods has been coming in to try to help that matchup a little bit.
Try to shore up a bad matchup.
Yeah, you got to shore it up because you don't want to go all in on that because it is one of your worst matchups.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much that matchup that I'm like, all right, I have 2 token cards. If I get there, I get there. If not, oh well.
Yeah.
Is It Static Caster's been real good. It's my combat to Lingering Souls and flyers of those types. It gets Bantel Drazi. It gets like the 1/1s. It gets the spawners. It gets those. Keranos and Elspeth Sun's Champion.
Now these are the bombs.
These are my bombs. They come in for Jund. They come in for Bantel Drazi. If the game is gonna go real long, these are the cards that I'm bringing in.
Yeah.
Ceremonious Rejection has been doing a lot of work recently.
I've seen people, this has been like a back and forth of people playing Dispels, Spell Piercer, Ceremonious Rejection. Why do you think Ceremonious Rejection is the 1 mana counterspell right now?
Because if you're going up against Tron or Bantel Drazi, it's 1 mana counter target thing. Like, it gets just about everything in the deck. I was playing Disdainful Stroke for a while, because there were just, like, you'd get a lot of those big grindy matchups where you would just rather have Disdainful Stroke.
Yeah, you just want to counter their 4 mana or more play.
Yeah, but you're going to hit more of those targets with Ceremonious Rejection, plus the added bonus of it getting other cards as well.
Yeah.
So that's why I've been doing that. The one of Lightning Helix in the board, I only play 3 in the main board. So it comes in for burn or any deck that I really feel that I'm just going to need that reach on. So if I'm cutting like Cryptic Command or if I'm cutting some of my slower cards, I'm usually bringing in the Lightning Helix to try to shore that up. The 2 Stony Silence, you bring it in against Tron. I mean, it's pretty good against Affinity, but so is this deck.
So here's a question. Do you bring Stony Silence in against the Eldrazi Tron deck? Do you think that's good enough there?
You can bring it in, but for the most part, you're racing them, and it's just slow. So I haven't brought it in against the Eldrazi Tron deck because for the most part, they're not using their mana, their artifacts to try to stall you out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really good against Walking Ballista, but that's one of the only cards I'm getting value out for it.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just bring in more burn. I want to be the aggressor in that matchup. I want to take the lead on that because if they get the time to do it and they get time to build up to Thought-Knot Seer or Smasher,
And eventually,
I'm just losing.
Yeah, eventually their Karns and their Ulgans.
Like Karn isn't.
Ulamogs.
You bring in the Ceremonious Rejection. You bring in maybe the Blessed Alliance. You might bring in the Wear Tear, but mostly you're bringing in the Ceremonious Rejection, the Helix, and like an Elspeth Suns champion, just to try to put enough guys on the ground that they can't just get by you. Because Geist of St. Traft, as much as I love this card, is real good on offense, but it is awful on defense.
Yeah,
it's just a 2/2.
They have any number of solid blockers. It just sits there.
Death and Taxes is annoying. I'll give you that. Everything in that deck has first strike. It's straight up miserable to play that matchup. But for the most part, this deck has done me really well. I feel like I've picked a good spot in the metagame to play it here because every time I've played out of at least top 16, I top 8'd once, and I almost won the last one.
Yeah.
But, so the deck is well positioned, I feel. People aren't ready for it. But
it's definitely something that you sit down across from and you play turn 3 Geist and you're like, is this 2013?
you're like,
Did I get in a time machine? And then you die.
And then you just hope that your opponent doesn't play Collected Company and just blow you out.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're usually in pretty good shape if you're playing this. And I've played this deck for a while. It's treated me pretty well. I just started out 2-0 against Spant Eldrazi, so we're gonna hope to run it back. So that's
you can pull the old Nickel Lane, the old top 8 every challenge, but then not win.
Hope. Yeah, that's my hope. So we're gonna see how it goes. But that's my deck. Hopefully other people will start picking up on it because I think it's really well positioned right now in the metagame. Like I said, your only downfall is like Lingering Souls and Collected Company. So I feel like we're in good shape. But that's it.
All right. Well,
thank you very
you
much
for joining me.
Had to redo it. We had to run it back one time.
Got to run it back one time. Good luck in round 2, and we will see you all in coverage for round 2.
Thank you very much.